Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I am Kenny Roy, and this is the week of November 15th, 2010. Very exciting because it's CTN week here in LA. If you can make it, definitely try to make it. And this is the Ask Video Mail. Today's question that comes from an email is, do you have any tips for creating quick moving holds? I do actually. So let's say we have a character and you want him to strike a pose that's pretty large and pretty dynamic. Okay, let's say he's signaling to someone, kind of far away. All right, so my first instinct is to build a pretty dynamic pose where we have the character in what I would like to say a strained pose. What a strained pose is a pose that you can't really hold for too long. And the reason I say this is because if a character were to hold this pose for 10 minutes, for instance, you'd probably have a very tired character. Probably wouldn't even be able to do that. Okay, so the point is whenever you have a character who's posed in such a way that they couldn't sustain that pose for too long, basically you want your moving hold to be based on one thing, and that one thing is what is the order in which those muscles are going to get tired. So if you have, for instance, nothing in your hands, you can hold your arms out pretty long, right? Minutes. But if you put even something as heavy as a soda can, a full soda can, don't cheat, in your hand, and you hold your arms out, this one is going to go down, and it's going to get tired so much faster than the one that has nothing in it, right? You take that concept and you look at your rig, and basically what you're trying to do is determine what is the order that the muscles are going to get tired. For instance, your hands, you can hold your hand in a fist pretty darn long, but you can't hold your hand out for very long. So it's kind of the proportion to the muscle and the joint size and how much it's holding up, it determines that order. So looking at our character, all right, a moving hold probably shouldn't have, for instance, all these channels like this after it, right? Because you can hold your hand open. It's not hard to hold your hand open. So what I like to do is this. It's kind of a little cheat, but I find it gets me like halfway there in a minute. It's great. So let's say you want to have a moving hold for 20 frames. So here's frame 20. I'm going to set a key right there on all the channels. What I like to do is like on frame, let's say 48, all right? So well past where that moving hold is supposed to be, I'm going to build just a slightly relaxed pose. Okay, so he's a little bit more down on his body. Okay, the shoulders are holding up a lot of weight, so this is going to kind of relax a little bit. Maybe the elbow will straighten just a little bit. The wrist, negligible, not too much, because it's easy to hold your wrist. All right, but this arm proportionally is holding up a lot more, so it's going to sag. And the wrist, again, the wrist is going to be negligible. It's just going to be very, 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 very little. The elbow might straighten just a little bit. Okay, and the head can droop just a bit. This spine pose, actually a little bit harder to hold than just sitting straight up. So he's probably going to lean just a little bit forward and not so contrapposto. Let's readjust this arm to put it back in the pose. Okay? So he was like this, now he's like this. Okay? So what I like to do is to make my moving hold is a very, very, very slight change occurs in the first couple frames of this transition from this is a pose that supposedly could be, whatever, a minute, 2 minutes later. if you had to hold that up, right, using that proportional tiredness of those joints, this would probably be like 2 minutes later. So what I do is I just find maybe like 2 or 3 frames after the pose that I started at, and I middle mouse drag it back to that frame and set a key. And then if I delete this, I have a 20 frame moving hold. See that? Just the right amount of movement to happen in that frame. And the nice thing about this is that it's not all over movement. For instance, it's not the fingertips and the fingers and everything curling up and him just kind of like withering like he's a raisin in the sun. It's actually based on a little bit of time that is going into his arm getting pretty tired, but this arm not as much tired. And the result is actually a pretty natural, good first step. This is about 50% there. Okay, so that's my tip to getting a really quick moving hold, and thank you for your questions. Go ahead and log on to kennyroy.com to submit your questions in the Contact Me form. I look forward to your questions every single week. Have fun animating, and as always, rock on.